All right. Hello. If you can see this, it's clearly working. It's not the perfect camera setup, but it'll be a camera setup. I'm going to have my laptop with Stream Chat on it. It's not going to be in the best location, but it'll be in a location, so I can at least check it from time to time. How do I do this? Okay, cool. All right. I may have found the perfect stand for the laptop, actually. Yeah, I think that's way better. Good old music stands. All right, cool. So I think the levels are all right. That's good. Laptop looks good. Things are there. That looks good. Okay, cool. Try. I haven't done one of these since summer. It's been a little while. So the goal of today is I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of meal prep to make a whole bunch of breakfast burritos, and then I'll be doing even more meal prep to make a bunch of pre-made pasta sauce, things like that, ready to go. Pretty confident all my dishes are ready, so that's good. Just need a little touch. All right. If you're like me and you're taking a small break from whatever the heck is going on in the Team Fortress world, continue. Breaks are good sometimes, you know? So what I need to do first, apparently, is clean this bowl. Oh, the bowl is clean, but the outside of it was not. So I'm going to crack all these eggs in the bowl. I'm going to whip them up, let them sit for a minute while I cook some pork, and get it ready for the actual cooking that we'll be doing. Now, I don't know if this is actually, it's not the best. Wish I had another light. I might get another light in a second. We'll see. Doesn't matter. Point is, just streaming some random meal prep. Because if you're like me, most gamers pay a lot for food. They eat out. They order a lot of food. But, you know, with a couple hours, which is probably about as long as all this will take, a couple hours, you can pretty much do anything. In the sense of like, I don't mean anything, but, you know, you can make meals that'll last you an entire week or more. And this is probably going to be about a week's worth, maybe a week and a half. Because I've also got like pancakes to pre-make later. Yeah. I don't really pre-make a lot of my lunches because usually I'll be out and about. So it doesn't really matter that I pre-make it. But in the context of this thing, I'm just going to I went out and spent about $75 on food. And now I'm going to use all that food to make what I need to make. These eggs are all completely different. In fact, I might do it right here so it's visible. These eggs are all of varied sizes. I'm kind of surprised. These are not the best eggs. They're not organic. So there's like a little bit of variation. Like they're not just a mere shell guy. See that? Even I can drop a shell at times. I've got it set up to where if I had a minute, I could pop over to the gaming PC, do a little bit of Team Fortress, but for now, no big deal. So making breakfast burritos has been one of my biggest successes for morning breakfast. Really, all I gotta do is wake up, get the coffee going, toss a burrito or two in the oven, or sorry, not the oven, but the microwave, and I'm ready to go. I haven't actually been doing this routine very much, just because what I was doing for work this winter had me all over the place rather than like being at home like I'm normally at home. So it's kind of nice to be at home again, be able to get into a good routine, and just kind of share what I'm doing with anybody that might be interested. But again, just cracking 18 eggs. I'm gonna whip them up and get them all ready. I like to let the eggs come to room temperature. Not necessarily room temperature, but just not a piece of freaking cold when I'm cooking with them. So I'm gonna let them sit for just a minute, get the pork going, and then scramble up these eggs, salt and pepper, things like that. Pork's gonna be all nice. And then from there, we're gonna add some cheese, roll up some burritos, and I'll show you how I roll up my burritos. I'm kind of a burrito rolling master. So it's one of those things where, you know, if you learn from the best, you'll roll like the rest. So hello to you. If you're curious what I really look like, you can just pop into one of my older streams real fast. But I'm here to cook. I'll entertain a little bit more later. So that's a whole bunch of eggs. Okay, I'm gonna let that sit here for just a minute. Let me get the pork going. I like to finish off the pork. Now, please don't judge me on my pan, of course. My pan has gone through hell in the last couple of weeks, so it's a little bit worse for wear. Where is it? Here it is. With cooking the pork, you don't need a whole lot of oil because it's going to drop its own oil for you. So in this case, I'm just using canola oil. Apparently it's backwards. I don't know why it's backwards, but all right, it's backwards. And just don't need a whole lot, just enough so that there's not any kind of sticking that goes on, if that's the thing. And then, through the miracle of modern television, so again, got some ground pork, not advertising, just the way it is. I don't know why it's a mirror mode though. That's the one thing that surprises me. I'll fix that in the future. When you're working with meat, you have to be very careful to not get that meat and the raw meat on other surfaces. You can easily pass off bacteria, and you can affect populations like pregnant women, the elderly, immunocompromised individuals, things like that. And so my goal here is just to like handle the pork. If I had latex gloves, I would use latex gloves. Handle the pork and get it set, and then wash my hands, soap and water. Very, very, very important, especially if you don't want to get people sick. If you have any family members that have cancer, same things like that, you do not want to get them sick. The flu, especially, can be a life ender for people. It can cause problems with pregnancy, things like that. All right. So this is the pork. And then I'm gonna add some spices to it. So I like to use crushed red pepper. Now, if you have a problem with spice, just a little bit, work yourself up. But in this case, I like spicy pork. I'm gonna use some onion powder. Onion powder is pretty handy. Just get that on there. Now, really all I'm doing right now is I'm bringing the meat up to temperature. Oh, and oregano. High school kids everywhere fear oregano in baggies. You know what I'm saying? Easiest way to trick high school kids. If you think that meme's hilarious. I'm pretty sure that's a Jay and Silent Bob reference, but I could be wrong. I'll put some black pepper on there, because who doesn't like black pepper? And a little bit of salt. Now, I know how to cook, so I generally don't need to measure out my ingredients, but some people might need to measure out ingredients, and that's it's always good, especially if you're watching your sodium intake. Because when you're watching your sodium intake, clearly you want to know, like, did I put a tablespoon or did I not put a tablespoon? So let's get that going real quick. And all these eggs right here. This is always kind of a fun part, eating all the eggs. Now I only have one large burner, so you're gonna see me swap between the different burners. And that's just gonna be a thing. This week coming up in Seattle, we're supposed to have the potential snow over the next week. Like the temperature's gonna keep dropping. Sunday, Monday, we're gonna get down to about 28 degrees. So it should be awesome there. I'm just gonna stay inside, play video games, hope for a Team Fortress update. All right, did I crack all these yet? It's so much easier when I buy liquid egg from the store. Liquid egg is one of those things where you're just like, hey, kick ass. I might be in the wrong category. I might need to switch myself to the food and whatever it is, but I guess just chatting is good enough. Now, if I had one more camera set up, maybe over here, I could do another shot, but this will just kind of be like a tester stream. All right, so I've done most of the work on that. Now, what I want to do on this pork is I'm going to chop it up into sections. So it's a little bit easier to flip. Okay. And what you should see here is that it's starting to become that, that cooked pork color. So that's all I was trying to do, is just get both sides that way. And also to make sure it really starts coming up to temperature. Because eventually I'm going to get this pork to the temperature of about 165 degrees. It'll always be a little bit more, which is great. So we'll just deal with it that way. So it's okay to squish it out a little bit. Give it just a moment. So it'll kind of be my my work surface, and then I've got my burrito rolling surface right here for later. I have another one in here too. Yes. All right. Now, in terms of the amount of milk that I'm going to add to the eggs, I'm going to go a little bit light because I don't really like a whole bunch. But in terms of salt, I'll just show you how much salt I'm doing. 18 eggs worth of salt. Like, that's probably a lot less than I need, but the pork's going to be salty. So I don't really need to worry about that. Same thing with the pepper. I'm generally like a 1-to-1 pepper to salt kind of guy, but it also depends on what you're doing. So in this case, about the same amount. Doesn't need to be a whole lot. In fact, I'm not really picky on spice. There we go. Miracle of modern television. A bit more. Because I can maybe mount the camera on this wall next time. I'll probably do this more often because I have a whole bunch of random recipes that I do. I don't just play video games and do computer security. I take bike rides. I do a whole bunch of different things, and that's that's clearly only 3 things. But when I get everything is the real question. There we go. The eventual goal again is going to be to wrap them in these burritos. Could probably make my own tortilla shells at some point, but that's quite the effort. When I do this meal prep for the burritos, one of the last steps is going to be, after cooking everything, getting it all ready, I'm actually going to portion it out, like a third of a cup of this, half a cup of this, to make the burritos like a very routine size. And that's pretty helpful for me. So now that everything's kind of like coming up to temp, I'm going to take like a wooden spoon so I'm not destroying this, and also something just a little bit harder than like, spatula. Kind of break it up. And I'm following kind of like the meat grain. So when pork, beef, chicken is all ground up, it generally has a look to it because it's come through a grinder and it's been laid out, kind of ready for you. And all I'm doing is just kind of following it, making it a little bit easier to break up. If you were working with whole pork, oh my gosh, feel sorry for you. Ground, like pre-ground is so much easier. If I was married, had a nice kitchen, I'd probably do something a little bit different. You know, like get a grinder, buy like whole pieces, grind it up myself, so that super fresh vibe. Give that just a minute here. So like, here's some chicken that I'll probably work with later. You can see how it comes out of the grinder. So you can kind of like chop through it very, very, very easily. Now, just kind of mix it up a little bit. Toss it over. Okay. Now I might go get a light. I looked at the video for a second. It does look like when I'm in here, I'm just casting a shadow over everything. Not exactly desirable. All right. So while I'm waiting, I'm going to get this burner over here heated up. So once this meat's done, I can put it over here and just kind of keep it at a low temperature. I prefer to roll the burritos with the meat when it's still kind of warm. I find that the burritos roll nicer, just grab a better shape, and then I'll cool them down in the refrigerator afterwards. So my big thing that I do on Twitch is I play Team Fortress 2. And in general, my big goal these days is I'm all about catching cheaters. Like that's just kind of my thing. So I've played the game long enough, like many, many, many years beta, to where any like need to like win or be the best has kind of been like worked out of me. You know what I mean? Like I've played so long, like I can just pop in on any given day and just kind of like have a blast. All right, so just about where I want it. Break it up a little bit more. Now, one thing, if you've never seen it, it's called a temperature probe. So when you're cooking meat, steaks, anything, you want to check what temperature things are at. But right now, it tells me the pork, at least the piece that I picked up, was 165 and climbing. So I don't really have to worry too much about, you know, have I undercooked it, have I overcooked it? Like, essentially, I have cooked it. Everything is great. So just to be sure, get this bit light. Boy, I really do need another light. Hang on a second. See how this looks. All right, so there's the light. And here's that. Cool. Just fix this. I think that'll work. Clearly, my lack of production value is coming back to haunt me. So does that look good? Yeah. Just need to get this out of the way. All right. Cool. Much better. Almost. Light. Oh yeah, that's much better. Okay. Stream fail, nearly complete. Why did that do that? All right, fantastic. Better. Let's put that right there. Cool, looks good. No, I'm still not happy with the positioning. Let's something like that. Perfect. Let's getting hot in here already. So the pork is pretty much done. I'm gonna leave it covered with the proper cover. And where's my lid? Here it is. We'll just leave this over here, kind of low. And now, this is not going to be as interesting to watch, just because I'm using a larger pot, since I just used the pan. But I'm going to cook the eggs in here. Okay. So I'm going to let it come up to temperature. I'm going to get some oil in there as well. I could add the oil to the eggs and mix it about, but I find since I'm going to be like pushing it around in here, it's not really that necessary at all. Last quick step. A little bit of milk, just to kind of like give it a little bit more of a fluffy texture. And I would say for 18 eggs, 1/3 of a cup to a 1/2 cup is just fine. Just really depends on your taste. Too much milk and you'll probably wind up just getting like meh eggs. I don't know how to say. It's just a kind of like a consistency feel that you get after doing it a number of years. All right, so let's get the eggs going here. All right. The only reason I wish I had maybe 1 or 2 more cameras is like a straight down camera and then like a sink camera, because I gotta wash some of these dishes in between. And you won't really get to see me washing them. You'll probably just like see random stuff cooking or sitting there. So that feels pretty good. Get all the eggs in there. I did a pretty good job beating them all up, but it'll get a little bit easier. Now I'm just gonna make a big old batch of scrambled eggs. Now this is kind of the boring part. I'm just cooking eggs, right? But I can't taste the pork. See how that tastes. Not the best light. So I'm going to wash off my spatula. And all I'm really going to be doing while it's cooking is just pushing it around to prevent the eggs from burning. Okay? Now again, if you're like me and you're a gamer, and say you're trying to save money, maybe because you need to, maybe because you like to, pre-making your food is one of the best things you can do. All right. Now I'm a little bit hungry because I've been doing other stuff this morning. I'm kind of ignoring my dietary needs. So find a spoon and have some yummy. It's kind of nice once all this prep work is done. Then I can just stream, play games, exercise, and all I ever have to do is just pop something in the microwave or pop it on the stove to heat it up. And it's just there's nothing special about that. It's like popping in microwavable meals that you buy at the store. It's just each of my meals costs maybe like 1/4 to 50 cents, whereas a microwavable meal it'll cost you like $3.50 to $5, all the way up to like $9, depending on what you're buying. So, if you really want to like save money, because having a savings is one of the most powerful feelings in the world, I highly recommend learning how to do meal prep for yourself, following like this thing that I'm doing right here, so that indeed can do this. Now, the one thing I didn't do for this time is I didn't go steal a whole bunch of like salsa packets from McDonald's. I just have a couple. I usually just use these once I've heated it up, Mexican style salsa. But I could easily drop a little bit of money on salsa. No, this doesn't really need it. So, whatever. Mm. Mm. Haven't had coffee today. All right. There. I feel better. So now you can see the eggs are just starting to solidify now. So I'm getting to that point where it's going to be much easier in a second to finish this off. Now I have the temperature at about 3.5 out of 9 or 10 on my stove, high being 10. And the pork still doing its thing. Should be good over there. Once the eggs are done though, I'm just going to immediately start portioning them into tortillas. Same thing with the pork. It'll be eggs first, then the pork on top, then some cheese on top of that, and then roll it. The reason I do that is that if you put the pork on the bottom, generally when you cook the burrito in the microwave, the way that I rolled it, you wind up with the pork on the bottom, and it like soaks into the tortilla, and it gets really hard by the time it's done cooking. So I do this just in this order, just to kind of avoid it. Getting there. Usually the solidification is like just, it comes up in an instant. Or like if you're not paying attention, it just starts to solidify. So let's see if I can not pay attention while cutting up an apple for apples and peanut butter. Let's see what happens. There's so many different ways to cut an apple, but I usually just do it the fast way. So I just want to immediately get into eating and not have to deal with anything. So usually when I cut an apple, just cut it in half. Cut it in half again. And of course, just keep cutting it in half. Now the way I'm doing it like this is not really recommended. You're supposed to cut things, more like this to protect yourself. But if it's just cutting apples, you're not like in a professional kitchen. You don't really have to worry about things too much, right? At least that's my thought. Now usually I'll just, there's many ways to cut an apple. In this case, super fast way. It's just cut off the ends. Yeah, boom. Boom, pretty simple. Once these are all cut up, you can cut them up into like thinner slices again. So let's go here. Here. All right. So now I was like, if I wanted like tinier apples, I can easily deal with that. In this case, the eggs are just about ready. So here. And now I could be prepping these apples for like some oatmeal, where I chop them up into really, really tiny pieces. And then those tiny pieces become like something that I soak with the oatmeal. Go from there. In this case, not too worried about it. So now this is really gonna solidify pretty darn quickly. So I'm just about done with those. I'll move this out of the way for a second so I don't get distracted. And of course, there's my peanut butter. There's my peanut butter. Try one. Who doesn't like apples and peanut butter? Quick energy, super cheap. Do cheese if you get bored of peanut butter. I think because I'm right-handed, it's a bad idea to have the camera on that side. I think in general, I should get the camera over here next time, or it's really solidifying now. But again, 18 eggs. If I don't have like a nice flat top, takes just a minute longer than if I had like, you know, if this whole thing was heated up, you know, a giant skillet or something on there. But getting there. So I'm gonna turn it down just a little bit so I don't burn anything. But as long as I keep it moving, and again, I'm using spatula. It's very forgiving on the surface. You know, using metal right now, people would be freaking out if you were in a kitchen. Why are you using metal? The more you scratch these pans, the more likely you are to just like have stuff stick to them. There's not a whole lot you can do once the sticking starts happening. Now, I'm going to break it up. So there's no reason to like be gentle with the eggs and like keep it as these big old pieces that you see here. All right, let me do this real quick. There we go. This light is absolute trash. There we go. That should help. Much better. Cool. I have a light that you can't see where I lost the piece that dangles below the light and like diffuses it, so it's like less hard on the eyes. But now like I've removed the paper that I used to make it that way. So now I can like see the light bulb directly. So it's just a little bit more intense. All right, eggs are nearly complete. Listening to the traffic outside is kind of nice. I didn't want to turn on the fan because I figured it'd just be irritating as all heck on the video. So if you can hear anything outside, like you'll probably hear a medic truck or a fire engine at some point. Now, since I've got nobody in the chat, this is clearly going to be a bit of a boring video because I've really got no one to talk to besides myself. So I'm mostly just going to kind of be talking about what I'm doing with the cooking. But if anybody pops in, has any questions, like what I'm doing or different things, I can let you know. You can see the eggs are just about ready. And that's 18 eggs with about a third of a cup, maybe half a cup of milk that I put in there. Plenty of salt, plenty of pepper, probably a tablespoon salt and pepper. And you don't need a whole lot. There's no, I mean, salt will make things taste like things. But, you know, if you're just going for nutritional value, there's no reason to make things taste salty, if that makes sense. Where it's like, you know, you eat your proteins, you eat all the nutrients that you're getting from other things, and like, that's it. Like, who cares about taste sometimes? You can always add a little bit of salt. You can add some salsa, like I mentioned earlier. You don't have to, like, nuke things in salt and make it amazing. When I make my soups at night, which maybe I'll end the stream with making my soup later. Here we go, just about down here. When I make my soups, like I really don't put very much in there at all. I think at the most, I maybe put like a quarter of a teaspoon. Like I hardly put any in there. It's usually like the meats that I add to it have already got a lot of salt. The worst part about meal prep is not eating what you make, which is why I'm eating apples, yogurt, things like that. I want to give myself a chance to actually have the meal prep and then kind of like start eating it tomorrow morning, for example. Other things I'm going to make later, I'm going to make some rice and lentils. I'm just going to like pre-make that in a pot right here. Well, I'll cool it down, and I'll use that to make chicken burritos. I just don't have enough. I don't think I have enough shells to make it. We'll see. We'll see what I wind up with after this prep. So the eggs are just about done. So I'm gonna start breaking them up, really give them a chance to cook. And again, since I don't have a huge pot right now, you know, some of the eggs are on top, some are on the bottom. So I'm just making sure to move it around as much as possible. Well, that's finishing. Put away some of my dishes, make some space in here. I've been adding potatoes back into my diet. That's been pretty nice the last week or so. And I'll generally shred them up myself in the morning. I don't like to keep shredded potatoes in water. You can, but I prefer just to quickly shred them in the morning. I think it helps with it's like waking up, you're doing something that could be dangerous, shredding your hand. So I've got that. So that's okay, just about done here. Oh, there's the wrong one. Cool. Pork is ready. Now, unfortunately, I think I have a little bit more pork in the fridge. So if I don't have enough pork for this recipe, I'm just going to pull the extra pork I have out of the fridge. I have some that I pre-made a few days ago. That should be pretty good. Let's check this out. All right. Pork is definitely cooked. Ooh, and it smells like pork. I wouldn't say it smells delicious, like it's pork. Like I'm sure people can make much better tasting pork than I can. But let's do this. So, tortilla shells. Start with this one right here. I usually do a couple at a time. These seem a little bit smaller than what I normally use, so I might have to adjust things. But, so half a cup and third cup. So I'm going to use a half a cup of eggs. And now when it comes to like getting a half a cup of eggs, like just, squish them down as much as you can. Just kind of get that all ready. Right? Okay, so I got a half cup of eggs in each one. And don't forget to turn off the heat because you don't really need to worry about keeping it hot now because everything is ready. So now, get some eggs on there. I think you can see both. Yeah. Okay. And we get some cheese. So slices of cheese. I try to minimize like how much stuff I need to touch. I try to like get everything opened and ready. So I'm gonna get all my slices ready. All right, so slice, 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 slice. Okay. Slice, slice. Okay. Now I need some of that pork. And again, I'm gonna go with a third of a cup. Just from experience, it seems to be a good amount. Honestly, it could be a little bit less. You're just trying to put some on there. Just to increase the nutritional awesomeness of this. I haven't made these in so long. So now on the burritos, I'm gonna get everything so you can take it and smash it down, maneuver it however you need to, just to make it easier to roll in a second here. And then I'm gonna take the cheese, just fold it in half, just one slice per. You don't need a ton of cheese, especially if you're like me and sometimes you have a bit of a stuffy nose. Just fold it in half, jam it down on there. Okay. So now I'm gonna toss these corners over. I'm gonna roll this over. I'm using my fingers to kind of keep it happy. I'm tucking it under. And the first one I have split open, which it happens. Generally, if it's a little bit too hot, it's going to happen. Or if you have a little bit too much moisture on there, oil, things like that. So I'll just be a little bit more gentle on this one. Should be fine though. Okay. Burrito number 2. Let me do. This should be fine. So I'm gonna take all the ones that I'm finished with, and I'm just gonna like throw them over here onto this, so I can let them cool down. Grab a couple more. Of course, the ingredients are starting to cool down, which will make this just a little easier. The whole like splitting open thing, like, I hate when that happens. It's such a buzzkill in terms of just like, hey, I did everything perfectly except for this one right here. Eggs. What can also help is really like breaking up the eggs. So instead of being like larger chunks, you know, these like tinier pieces. I don't know what the technical term would be, but egg. Some of that pork. I might have almost done a quarter cup. It's just been a little while since I did this, so I'm going to stick in the third of a cup for now. If I need more, like I said, I've got some. That on there. The cheese. I'm thinking ahead to later tonight. Like after I'm done with all this prep work, I'm kind of thinking Team Fortress 2 is going to be the thing to play. Because I was reading on the RTF2 this morning that apparently somebody has published information about how to set up your own bots to essentially, roll out with a bot crew. As much as I hate the people that are doing that, it's at least good to see that like people are doing it and abusing it, because that means it'll get fixed that much faster. Which is definitely a good thing. All right, number 3. And 4. I usually have 2 of these each morning. I don't always use the spinach shells. This is just all they had at the store. So that's kind of what I'm dealing with right now. Yeah, my first burrito is just a little bit larger than normal. More burritos, the merrier. Now, when I have my secondary monitor hooked up to my broadcast PC, it tends to sometimes freeze if the GPU's got issues. I'm just gonna go double check to make sure it's not frozen. All right, success. We're still in business, so that's good. All right, so now, 1/3 of a cup of pork, or approximately 1/3 of a cup. Get that on there. I could technically heat up the tortilla shells, but I buy soft tortilla shells so that I don't have to worry about heating it up. Because if they're like the harder shells, you have to kind of heat them up so they roll without cracking and breaking. So that's just something to keep in mind. Little like things I've learned over time. All right, so that's a good amount. That is a good amount. Now we'll get the cheese on there, because cheese. Let's go here. Go here. Yeah, I can see most people probably don't want to watch a cooking stream. I think this is going to be more one of those, like, I'll throw it on my YouTube channel, cooking for gamers. Because again, most people just spend and waste money. Wonder why they have no money at the end of the month. Well, if you learn how to cook, you learn how to do meal prep, you're always going to have plenty of money and plenty of food on hand. Every tortilla shell is just a little bit different. In this case, like when I'm bringing it over, I'm actually kind of tucking under, with my fingers. I'm kind of like firming it up a little bit to give it a better shape. And then once it's all rolled, kind of pressing down and giving the burrito, a better look. All right, so that's 6. See how many more we can make. What I've got, I've still got a little bit of pork. So if I need it, I've got even more pork. We'll see that. Of course, the next phase, I think I'm going to make the pasta. I haven't made pasta in a while. So this was 18 eggs, all cooked in with maybe about a third of a cup to a half cup of milk, tablespoon of pepper and salt. Beat them. Oops, bring them to the state that you see them in right here on kind of like 3.5 to 3. And voila, instant breakfast. All I have to do is wake up and start functioning after throwing something in the microwave. What could be better? That looks about right. Okay. Quite put enough over here. So it looks like I have enough here, at least in the pork, for these 2 burritos. And I'll have to use the cold pork for the rest, which is okay. Yeah, if I'd done like an exact amount, like a third of a cup of pork the whole time, I would have probably had just enough. But in this case, I went a little bit light on purpose because you don't actually want like a heavy amount of pork in the burrito, unless you really like that kind of thing. But it's you need that. All right, let's go. You can see the rolling starts to become even easier as I go on. Like you probably, if you're watching this in the future, you can probably see, I don't know, just like the variety in the burritos. Like they're pretty reproducible. Of course, I broke this one right here, but I might heat it up and eat it now. We'll see. Depends on how many I make. Because I generally want to have like at least 8 completed, so like 4 days worth of meal prep. But in this case, I've already done 6. I can do 4 more, so I'll probably try to get these 10 in. But likely, with the amount of egg I have, I can make that a thing. Let's do this here. For me, this is a lot like just computer programming. It's just a quick function. Make breakfast burritos. Sometimes if I run out, I'll just make it in the morning. I'll crack 2 or 3 eggs into the pan with some like pre-cooked pork, like you see in this container right here. And I'll just cook it all up together, throw some cheese on there, cook it up, maybe throw on some spinach sometimes. And I'll just kind of roll it fresh in the morning. Big old burrito instead of having these tinier ones. But that's, I don't really like to wake up and cook. It's much nicer just to kind of wake up, start the coffee, heat up the burritos, sit down with a yogurt, get everything all ready, and then just kind of like do my day or start streaming, working, whatever, checking email. So that should be there. Good. All right, so this is going to be probably a third of a cup. This is the remainder will go on this one. And I want to avoid putting too much oil on here. If I heat it up and all that oil is sticking with it, it's just going to be nasty. Now I'm not really going to clean out the pan too hardcore. I'm going to cook up some beef next. All I'm really doing is making sure like any chunks are off of it. But since I'm not worried about people who don't want to eat pork or do want to eat beef and things like that, I don't mind keeping some of the juices from the previous meat on there for the next cook session. Not a big deal. Pork beef, which is very similar to man-bear pig. If you've never had man-bear pig before. So yeah, I can make, let's see here, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's decent. I could have added a little bit more milk and probably push this for one more burrito. So I might add a little bit more next time. Oh, need pork. All right, so some of the pre-cooked pork put on there. Same thing. Good to go. All right, cheese, and I have just enough cheese to complete this. I have enough to make like a quesadilla later if I feel like it. I'm wondering if I should end the stream here and just call this breakfast burritos and then do another stream in a little bit, or just like power through and do it all. I think I'm gonna power through and do it all. Just don't like stopping to do dishes. I mean, I do, but it just doesn't seem necessary. So I'm gonna eat this burrito just because it was the one that split, and I'll wind up with 9. I would have 10 if I didn't split a burrito. Actually, no, I'm gonna have 10 total. Un momento, por favor, mi amigos. Check this out. So I've got this one rolled up, and it's not the best roll, but you can. Then this will be number 10. Cool. So I'll make this one just a little bit larger because it's all the egg that I have left. So in total, this will be like the mega burrito right there. There we go. Cool. Mega burrito. Egg on there. It's gonna be kind of a tough roll though. Might roll it this way. I'll do a little bit less pork, just so that it's not so lame. Okay, go. Cheese. Cheese, please. All right, cool. So now, see if I can actually roll this one. Whoa. Yes, I can. This will be that burrito that I eat in a couple days, and I'll be like, oh, yep, that was the mega burrito. So this looks a little bit funky, but it's all the space I've got to work with. So I'm going to take these and I'm going to put them into the refrigerator just so that I can bring them down to temperature a little bit, because I don't want bacteria growing while it stays hot for a really long time. I don't have to do it for very long, and then I can wrap them or seal them in plastic. Now, might as well eat a breakfast burrito. So in total, I made 11. But again, like you saw, I split one open, so might as well eat it. Get some orange juice. Who doesn't like orange juice in the morning? I like orange juice. Now I'm going to do just a little bit of dishwashing so I can get ready for the next phase. How's it going, everybody? Just finished making breakfast burritos. And now I'm going to work on making some pasta and meat sauce. I'm going to cheat a little bit on the pasta meat sauce in the sense that I'm not going to like make the sauce from like cans of tomatoes and tomato paste, but I'll do that in the future sometime. I'm going to do the quick version with just canned pasta sauce. And the sauce breakfast burrito. Sweet. Dun, 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 dun. I don't normally eat on camera, so this will be one of those things, but you know. So pork, egg, and cheese. Now I have 10 breakfast burritos, which is essentially 5 breakfasts, 2 burrito for breakfast. Or I can just do like 1 burrito and that'll last me 10 days. The pork cost me about $5. The eggs cost me about $3.50. And the cheese, I think like $2. So let's just say the whole thing cost $10, which is pretty good. You know, $1 per burrito. It's a lot cheaper than going to McDonald's. Mm. Oh no. Mm. Mm-hmm. Of course, I have one shell left. I'll probably make a quesadilla with that later, with the 2 slices of cheese that I have left. I can do this again, and I can freeze the next batch of burritos, and then do it again, just keep freezing more and more and more. And then, of course, just defrost them as necessary by like bringing them from the freezer into the refrigerator. But I'm just gonna do one batch today. If you're like me and you don't mind eating the same thing over and over and over, this is actually pretty great because it allows you just to get to work immediately. And you don't have to worry about cleaning dishes every morning, you know, running the dishwasher. It's like, no, you're just heating stuff up in the microwave. Of course, fresh is always the best. Always. Mm. Mm-hmm. Hell yeah. I can see the chat. I've got a laptop over here. So if you guys have any questions, I see Jackson on and Shady Gives. What's up? Cool. I noticed that Banny is streaming really early. He started at like 1:30 or 2 o'clock. He's streaming hella early today. I don't know why. He must be doing something different. Normally he'll start at 6 now. He's on a schedule. All right. Break time is over. So, quesadilla for later. And what I'm probably going to do, I like to save money, is once those burritos cool down, I'll just put all the burritos inside here and seal it up. That way, the refrigerator is not going to pull any moisture out of those burritos once they're done cooling. So you don't want to waste plastic or anything. It's a really good way to do it. Clean up my workspace here. Oh, gloves. So all I'm doing over here at the sink is I'm just cleaning up some of the stuff that I was just using so I can use it for the next phase. Of course, nothing's really balancing. The one thing I don't have, which I wish I did have, is like a composter or like something to put compost in. I usually just use some dishes, throw it in there. I tend to just throw my compost in the sink as I go, and then usually I pick it all out later, throw it in the freezer in a bag until I'm ready to bring it down to like my compost bin outside. But the problem with throwing it in the sink all the time is I have to constantly clean my sink to keep the bacteria from growing in there. Now that's not always fun. All right. So I'm just putting some soap on the sponge. I have the gloves on. It's pretty easy to hold everything, especially as oily as it could have been. And the benefit of having a dishwashing machine like I do is that I can take all the dishes and I can set them on the rack to drip dry for a minute once I clean them. I don't actually have to run them through the dish machine. All right. All right. There's that. Now, one thing I almost forgot to do, I haven't done this in a while, I want to get the noodles boiling because it takes the longest. So it's about this much water, and I have a smaller pot, so it'll be what it is. But all I'm going to do is cook some rotini. I'm going to bring that up to a boil real fast. In fact, speed up the process. I'm going to continue doing a little bit of dishes. Who doesn't like doing dishes? Right? I don't think anyone wants to watch me do dishes, so bear with me for just a moment. I'll get this all ready. Kind of a gray day in Seattle right now. Like there's not much going on outside. It seems like this week has been pretty slow. Of course, it's a Friday night. Once I have all this meal prep done, I can pretty much go do anything, which mostly is just going to be play video games. The other thing I might do tonight is I might actually not play Team Fortress from my PC. I might actually just go play Team Fortress at GameWorks in downtown Seattle. So I've got a number of hours saved up to use if I want. And their PCs are all running the 1080s, so they're much faster than my PC. So I can actually crank up the graphics, see the physics and the ragdolls, things like that. It's pretty good. So again, all I'm doing is just washing all the stuff I just used. So I don't have a whole bunch of dishes. Okay. Here. Then I'm just letting them dry on the drying rack, which in this case is just my dishwasher. Because once you've used your dish machine, you might as well just use it as a drying rack if you're cleaning stuff by hand. After I'm done cooking the pasta, though, I'm actually probably going to run the dishwasher. And then I'll probably pre-make some macaroni and cheese with hot dogs, if anyone's curious how I do that one. Almost done. A couple more things to go, and then I'm all set. Then we'll do the next one. On second thought, I feel like maybe people do want to watch me wash dishes, but for now, no big deal. I'll wash dishes in the future. It's like pooping, like when you have somebody living with you and they walk in on you pooping for the first time, it's kind of like, whoa. Sorry, I pooped by myself. What are you doing here? I guess it's, for me, it's like that with washing dishes. I live alone, not seeing anybody right now, so it's like I'm very used to just kind of doing stuff myself. All right, so I'm gonna let those dry for a second. Don't need to worry about that. Alright. Good. There we go. Sorry, ears. All right, well, that was easy. See how the water's doing. Glad I started it early. Sometimes I forget. I just have to spend a bunch of time waiting for water to heat up. Never a good thing. Now, beef. We're gonna make beef pasta. My laptop battery is low. I need to find my power supply. Just a moment.
Let's see if, oh yeah, this is still working. Cool. Clearly, while that's boiling. Okay, let me see if this is working as well. Is that gonna work? No, that's not it. Let's go with, yeah. Well, no, I don't like that one as much. That one's okay, it doesn't have me on it. So let's go with this one for a second. I think I'm gonna lose my laptop because I'm actually not sure where the power supply is. Seems like one of those things where I would know exactly where my laptop power supply is, but since I've been home, I haven't really needed to use it too much, so I'm gonna sign in on here for now, just in case I lose it. All right, so I'm on here, creator dashboard. Cool. So now let's go back to this one, I think. Nope, I want remote. There we go. Sorry about the borders, but it's a thing. All right, so turn off preview. There we go. Users in chat. Hello, other people. Cool. All right, so I've got that working. And let me go back and do some stuff. Oh, okay, yeah, no, that's good. All right, we're set.
Magic. Pretty sure the microphone continues to work. I've got the desktop microphone, this microphone, the Logitech microphone, a few different ones. But yeah, I think my battery's gonna die here in a minute. Where the heck is my charger though? All right, noodles. Let me get that pan going again. Wait till the water is pretty much almost boiling. And then I get the pan going. Again, very little amount of oil. Don't need too much. This is going to drop its own oil for us. That's a few tester noodles in there. So I need to make some room for this. Problem that I put myself into for a situation is I've been using things like this to store peas for like the soup that I'll make. So I haven't been making my pasta sauce. So I'm just gonna do a little transfer here. Should be good. Oh, and of course, this is how I set myself up to be able to just stream, go on bike rides, do a bunch of stuff without having to worry about spending a bunch of money and doing dishes and making food. It's like I'm getting everything all ready now, and then I can just think about it. Where is it? I've got this one, that one. I think I'm missing one of my bowls. Oh. Now I'm just gonna dump it all in there. Oh no, what are you doing, Iceman? Like, no, it's cool. Just do it. Let it happen. Now, I got the oil coming to temp. In this case, I'm just gonna open it with my finger. That's hilarious. The color on the meat is fantastic. Clearly, I'm murdering something so I can continue to survive, but yeah, it's a thing. Washing my hands because I just handled raw meat. Now, the way my stove works is like the heat on this one is gonna like influence the heat on this one. So it's gonna cook a little faster since I'm doing them both at the same time. Both. Bowl. One more bowl. I'm missing a bowl. I know where it is. Got 1, 2, 3. Maybe one more. Huh. Where the hell it is? Okay. Huh. Like I don't have a very large place. The fact that I can't find one of my bowls, it's super strange. I should be able to find it pretty easily. Oh well. And again, since I'm boring with spices, we're gonna add a little bit of red pepper, probably more to the a little bit of onion, but not too much. Then where's my garlic? Here's my garlic. Ah! Popping. I'll put it down a little bit. And I don't have any basil. I guess I forgot to buy some basil, but normally I'd add some basil, so we'll just use a little bit of oregano. Honestly, the meat, because like the pasta sauce is gonna have all the flavoring since I'm cheating, I don't really have to worry too much about it. Now this one. This one. Now you want to break up the noodles, so they don't just like sit there. The boiling water should take care of it. But where the heck is my other bowl? I don't even know where it would be. Huh. Oh well. I have a see it's sticking a little bit. Modify this. And just like with the pork, I'm going to break it up. It's a little bit easier to flip in a minute. And again, if you're a Twitch streamer, if you're always finding yourself spending a ridiculous amount of money on food, you might as well learn to meal prep. The only way, at least I think it's. I mean, if you're rich, you clearly don't have to worry about meal prepping. I'm not rich. I'm not poor. Can't forget my raw work surface. All right, now let's see, the meat's starting to brown pretty nice. I don't know if you can see that. Here, flip that over. Burger. And really, the boiling of the noodles, about 7 to 8 minutes. That's all you need. Considering I'm going to be heating up some pasta sauce in a minute, I don't really have to worry too much about how heavily I cook the noodles, because in the end, I'm still going to take the noodles and combine them with like hot pasta sauce, and it'll still cook like a little bit longer. So now for the recipe that I make, I just use 2 of these. If you were doing this like yourself, it's probably like 3 cans of diced tomatoes, 3 cans of tomato paste, a little bit of water, and then all the different spices like, what do they use? So parsley, onion powder, garlic, you know, all the normal stuff, a little bit of sugar, not a whole lot, but just enough. I'm gonna pour this all in here, deep down, so I don't splash it everywhere. Get myself all saucy. All right. I think my laptop finally died. Yes. I'll check in on chat in just a second. Clearly, this has not been a very interactive stream, so this is just going to be for YouTube or something. Moving the noodles about. I usually eat a noodle, see if it's done or not. Easier. All right. So now the meat's at that point where I can start breaking it up. So kind of let it come to temperature. If you don't let it come to temperature, a lot of times you don't get a very good texture on the meat. So kind of letting it all heat up thoroughly, not necessarily cook, but just, you know, getting both sides going and kind of flipping some things around, I think is very important to getting a much better texture. So you don't want it to be like rubbery. If you're single, you're not feeding this to anybody, you know, texture doesn't really matter too much. But if you're going to make a meal for a date, things like that, you want to take careful stock of how you're doing it. So now I'm just going to break it up. Let me check chat. Oil boy. For what it's worth, beef drops a lot more oil. Look at that. And the reason I don't need to add a lot of oil to the actual pasta sauce is because this is going to bring all that flavor in there once I dump it in. So it should be a pretty good time. Alright. Where the heck is my other bowl, though? I have one more of these bowls. And for the life of me, I can't figure out where it is. My kitchen is not that big. It's tiny. Alright, how are these noodles doing? Let's check it out. Bonk. Okay. Has it been 7 minutes? Yeah, that's fine. So it's still pretty red with the beef. I need to give it just a minute. Okay. Now, the fun part, draining the noodles. If you don't have something to drain your noodles in, just like throw a lid over it. Be very careful not to burn yourself, because the steam will come out the back and the front. And you can just kind of drain it that way. Let it cool down if you're worried at all. But I get to use the cool method, which is pour this into this, which you're not going to be able to see. Plus, it would just fog up the camera. All right. I'm tossing it just a little bit. But what I've found after doing this time and time and time again is if I just do something like this, it'll just drain while I let it sit there. That's easy enough. Boy, it's foggy in here. No. No. Huh. Well, I'm missing a bowl. It's okay. I'll use like the backup mixing bowl. I might use another one too. Oh. So goofy though. What the heck is it? This. Alright, I'm looking just about done. Oh yeah. So since I'm not eating this right away and I'm not serving it right away, I don't really have to worry about bringing everything up to temperature together before combining all in the bowls. So one thing I can do, of course, just gonna check the temperature real fast. Looks like it's good, but looking is different than actually being. I swear she was super pretty, but she had herpes. I want to avoid food herpes here. All right, I see 179. Try one more section there. See what we got. All right, we're meat. Let's do this. Grab a pile, put it in there. Okay. Looking good, as I suspected. I've done this way too often. So now you really want to avoid this popping and getting sauce all over the place. All I'm going to do is just combine all this, including all the oils and good stuff into here. Okay. Let this cool down a minute and bring it over to the sink. I'm just gonna mix it in. And if there's any other spices and things you want to add in, that's a pretty good time. But for the most part, man, this light situation really blows. Let me try something else. Is that better? Yeah, that's a little bit better. I think just mounting it above. I don't have a vent hood, just because my place is a little bit older, so it is what it is. All right, so the sauce is in. Now, there's still some good sauce in the cans. So I'm gonna add just a little bit of water to this. Other things I've done in the past is I've cooked up some broccoli with the beef, and then I've combined it all. So like I'll have like a vegetable in there with it. Meh, you don't really need to. It can be a thing. So a little bit of that moisture. Alrighty then. So let me get this out of the way. And now, the portioning section. I think I have enough to do that much. What am I? So I'm going to start with just a cup of noodles for each. And forgive how I do this. Cup here. Cup here. Cup here. Again, if you're all about portion control, trying to gain weight, stuff like this is really handy once you know exactly how much you're putting in there. That was a little bit light. All right, so that's kind of the four main ones. I'm gonna make a smaller one for just a quick meal as well. But I need other. So half cup for just like the mini random quick meal. I'll do that for now. And then I'm gonna try to add about a half cup to each of these. You know, I might actually not use that extra one. Here. So that's, yeah, I think I'll just make it four. Yeah, it's been a while since I did this. Kind of forgot how much I need. I'll probably have a little bit of pasta sauce left over, which is a-okay with me. So it was about a cup and a half each, which makes sense if you look at the box of pasta noodles. All right. Now again, since I'm not, I'm not eating this now. I'm not serving this now. I don't have to worry about bringing this whole thing up to temperature. So all I'm going to do is add some sauce to each of these until there's no more sauce. And the moisture that I added with the water is a pretty good idea. So same thing as before, a little bit of a tip. Get some good old sauce on there and just drizzle it right over. When I reheat this in the microwave, or if I'm feeling fancy on the stove, all I'm going to do is just dump it into a pot, mix it up, cook it a little bit longer. Same thing in the microwave. Now, go over here. I prefer not to make a mess when I'm cooking, but it happens. I could probably boil off more noodles, but I'm running out of containers. All right, so I've put a cup of that in each one. Now, move on to just adding like a half cup. And so you can see it's like a cup and a half of noodles, a cup and a half of meat sauce. That'll be all I have left. And of course, kind of mixing it up each time to make sure that you're actually getting, a good amount of like sauce and meat in each scoop is great. Because you don't want to wind up with one of these bowls where it's all sauce. It's never any good. All right, so that's all those. And I've just got like a little bit extra to kind of throw in each one. And probably when I cook it off, it'll be a little bit saucier than I want it to be. So once I do heat it up and I eat it, I'll probably like grab a couple slices of bread. And I'll use those slices of bread to finish things off, to like, kind of soak it up a little bit, like if you're in an Italian restaurant or something. Now, through the miracle of modern television and the internet, the burritos are all cooled down, the breakfast burritos, and now I'm going to cool down all this stuff. Because again, bacteria starts to grow within 15 minutes once it drops below 165 degrees. So you want to cool it down to 41 or below as soon as possible. So I'm just putting it on the top shelf of my refrigerator. One thing to be aware of course, is when you're doing this, you can actually generate so much moisture in your refrigerator that it actually turns into ice and it stops the fan, and then your refrigerator stops staying cool. So don't make the mistake I made some time ago. Wonder why you're feeling sick all the time, and all of a sudden you realize, oh hey, the fan's not working. And of course, turn off the. So now, like I mentioned earlier, this. Now, these are all cold. Everything's good. I'm going to use this little wrap container to put all the burritos into. That way I don't have to waste Ziploc bags. Now, if I was grabbing and going with these things, I'd probably just wrap it in a paper towel, throw it in the microwave, and then be good to go. But now, again, as you can see, like, I'm all set. Don't really have to worry about breakfast tomorrow. Just heat it up and I'm good to go. It's not working. So, all right, so close, Why am I here? I'll put this one up here. Okay. There's that. And there's this one. So breakfast burritos, complete. Lunchtime, dinner time pastas, complete. But now I need to make macaroni and cheese and hot dogs. And get that all ready to go. So. I only actually have one hot dog left, so I'm going to cheat and use some of the ground pork that I have left. So, just like before, heat up the water. And then go check the live stream, see how things go.
Hello again. I've returned. You should probably be able to hear me much better now. Probably gonna sign into Steam now. Get myself a little bit closer to being ready to play some video games in a little bit. I don't remember what I said I was gonna do. I think I'm gonna play Team Fortress and not play Black Mesa. Oh, there we go. Normally, if I have the secondary monitor hooked up, there's a possibility that it'll freeze, and I'm pretty happy that it's not doing that. Only thing I would never really pre-cook would be things like oatmeal. So like tomorrow morning, I might just have one breakfast burrito, but then I'll also make some oatmeal and raisins, add some nuts into there, and generally just kind of like have a varied diet, I should say. While that water is heating up, though, I'm just checking in on the Steam universe. Of course, I can see the water. Let's see here. Currently, it hasn't heated up yet, so that's cool. Let's look at random Team Fortress things on here. Like, I'm quitting TF2. Why is TF2 fandom so weird? I don't disagree. That's actually a good thread title. TF2 is swarming with cheaters. Valve is useless. Anybody getting ruiner bots? Start TF2. Blah blah blah. Getting kicked for being friendly in Hightower. So see, this is what I need to get into Team Fortress and kind of bring back some of the positivity. Because everyone just wants to be so damn negative. I don't get it. What is the deal, you know? What's the deal? I should probably go cover that water.
Hey, it's me again. I'm curious what the audio is going to sound like. Where's my lead? Heat up. So all I'm going to use is some Annie's pasta, which of course is backwards for unknown reasons again. I wonder if it's actually backwards for real. Oh no, it's not backwards for you. Apparently it just displays backwards on my phone. I didn't know that. That's cool. No. The two things I couldn't find today, though, were where the heck is my other bowl for cooking and storing stuff, and then where is oh. So I need to prep this hot dog. Who doesn't like prepping hot dogs? I have one hot dog left. Apparently hot dogs, for the first time I made this recipe, I just used one hot dog. And the second time I made it, I realized, oh, I should use another one. So once the noodles are almost done boiling for the macaroni, I'm just going to take these hot dog pieces and I'm going to throw them in there because the water will still be boiling. And so it'll cook really fast. And then I just drain the hot dogs and noodles together and then just make macaroni and cheese however you normally would, right? Of course, I'm going to throw in a little bit of ground pork. These are beef hot dogs and ground pork, so it'll be quite the combination. One thing, though, actually, Razion was like, hey, try it with tuna. So I just haven't done it before. Maybe I'll do it next time. I'll stick with what I know. And then maybe I'll just make a tuna sandwich, like some mayonnaise tomorrow. Pretty sure my mayo's still good. See here. Best Foods Vegan. Best if used by May 9th of 2020. So yeah. I'm making tuna sandwiches tomorrow. Or maybe even tonight. I just discovered some celery in my refrigerator while I've been cooking. That was in like a bottom thing in the back, and it's definitely not good. I'll put it that way.
I always forget to turn on the microphone. I need like a nice area microphone so I can stop forgetting about this. Oh, help! Oh, that's a great one. I didn't think of that. This guy behind the account will 100% capitalize on the L. Let's see context. Ah. Oh, okay. I see what they're doing. Yeah. This has been really funny. It's not this is not the Team Fortress dev team as far as I've read, but someone keeps putting just random letters, and so people are taking guesses as to what it means. Tomorrow, A. Yeah, it's probably gonna be an A, which means heal, heavy, and then what was the other one? Uh, Context. Oh yeah. He heal heavy, heroic helper heals help. Okay. And then what was the other one that I had on here? This is the one from yesterday when all they had was the H posted. So it was help. Horrible hackers hurt heavy. He hungry. And then look what somebody did. Somebody then posted like upvote to feed heavy. One upvote equals one sandwich. So, and then a couple hours later, let's see here. It was like how many hours later was it? I guess it'd be so like 7 hours later, an E was posted on the same account. So we're just kind of waiting to see what's going on here. Why can I not see Twitch? What's broken here? What? Why is it broken all of a sudden? Sometimes I'm so secure, I can't even run Twitch's website, you know? It's just, there's a problem there. Sign out. Go here. What is wrong? Here we go. Twitch. Oh, okay. I had it on dark mode. I see. Dark mode borks it. Good to know. So you can't run this in dark mode. Cool. No follows today. That's okay. The water is boiling, so I will switch back over to this one.
Where is my laptop power supply? Huh. Cleaning off some of the dishes, the recycling. Oh, the content. Creating content. I think it's like, I mean, I'm usually fine like doing stuff, but there's something that's slightly more exciting about recording yourself and streaming to the internet when you do just like normal life tasks. I realize this is kind of boring, but it is what it is. I might actually do the tuna. I think it'll be hilarious. Tuna and hot dogs. What kind of combination is that, though? Crack it open slightly, drain out as much water as possible without squeezing the tuna into the soup. Chunk tuna in light water. Fresh tasting, no draining. No draining my ass. So the best part is I don't have to cook it. So that's good. That's ready. That's this ready. Not really. Actually, that's pretty close. So as I mentioned, the hot dogs real quick. Once they start floating, seems like they're mostly done. Doesn't take long though. And if you have a temperature probe like I do, this is called a Comark PDT 300. I think it can be read. This thing is like a real time saver. So let's see how quickly that cooked. It's only about 130 right now. And again, I want to get it up to 165 minimum. Probably good. I'll put a hat on. When the temperature like immediately starts at 160, you know you're good to go. I'm just mixing around the noodles and the hot dogs, trying to drain out the water of the little pipe guys. I don't want too much water and moisture in here. Then I'm just pouring it back in the pot. It's been poured back in the pot. Okay, so now this is going to be dangerous, just adding all this tuna. I've never done it this way before, but let's see how disgusting it is when I try it tomorrow. It would be interesting. But I'm down. Give it a shot. This is not coming out. Come on. I feel like it's the equivalent of 2 hot dogs, so I don't need the whole thing. I'll just do half the package. That looks good. Yeah, that seems about right. A good amount. Alright, so now that's all mixed in there. Need some oil. In this case, the instructions on the box say one thing, but I just kind of put enough to simulate the butter that people would normally put in it. Then, yeah, I think it's like 1/4 cup to 1/3 of a cup of milk. I don't mind a little extra. And of course, since I'm cheating and I'm not making like homemade macaroni and cheese, just do a little bit of this. All right, so that's cool. Put that away. Just mixing it up. Nothing special. It's always a bit easier when I have a larger pot. But oh yeah, it's pretty unique. Fishy hot dogs. But I like that the tuna almost disappears, and it mostly just gets coated with the cheese. So it kind of helps with the mixing process a little bit. So I guess I don't need the pork. This one. All mixing. I maybe put just a little bit too much milk, but as it cools down, it'll solidify a bit for it to be a-okay. And there's probably a little bit more moisture in the tuna than I would want overall. But for the most part, it looks ready to eat. See what this tastes like real quick. Come on, tuna noodles. Cool. Thanks, Razion. That was a good idea. So here's one snack. Here's another snack. Pretty sure the box says 2 servings. Of course, when you're a man, box of macaroni and cheese is 1 serving. I generally eat it all in one meal. Now, I'm going to cool this down just the same. I'll keep the lids with it. Just throw in the So now the pasta is mostly cooled down. So I'm just covering the pasta in there. this. All right, so that's everything for now. I don't really want to do any more meal prep for now. So I'll show you what I've got in here. Flip that around. Clearly I need to organize things, but I've got the breakfast burritos now. Got some more beef and chicken for cooking off later. This I just threw in here because I'm hilarious. Don't judge me. I'll make a tortilla later. Got this for like a soup later. And again, don't judge me. If you're cooking by yourself, not a big deal just to let an avocado do its thing. Okay. And yeah, I don't know. Just kind of get everything ready for the morning. Again, breakfast burritos, yogurt, fixins for like a dinner soup later. Got some lunches all ready to go. I'm going to cover this one with something else. Got the macaroni and cheese ready to go. And let that cool down. Got some eggs for anything else that I make. And then, you know, orange juice, milk, various things. Apparently this orange juice is done. And that's kind of just what I'm doing. So, yeah, pretty fun times. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Because I don't often like share my process, you know. If you're curious what my setup looks like, I'll show you it just a little bit. All right, so there's my setup. Got this little dangling green screen right there. That's been pretty fun. But let's see. Bring this back. There it is. Let me end the call real quick.